Hey everybody, Joe T's here. Today I am going to show you how to install an SSD in the expansion slot of your PS5. So I'm part of the beta program, and this unlocks the ability to install an SSD in the expansion slot, one of the most sought after features of the PS5 because there's just so little space. So to begin, what you'll need is let's say a well lit room, and you'll need number one Phillips, and they say a small flashlight, but if you have enough light then you don't really need to worry about it. First off, you'll want to make sure that you do have the beta installed. This will not work without the beta, first off, and you have to have it installed before you put in the SSD. So what you want to do is you want to power down the console, let it cool if it's really hot, and then you're going to want to take the base off. I had a coin over here. Old trusty guitar pick. Okay. So now that the base is off, if you stand it vertically, what you want to do is they say you want to lie it down, preferably on a soft cloth, PlayStation logo down. So that's what I'll do. Here we go. Yeah, so you lift this side up and it'll come right off. So then what you're left here, you see the big huge fan, but then this is where you want. This is the cover for the SSD. Now you may be wondering, what SSDs can you put in here? You'll have to go on the website. I'll put a link in the description of the recommended specs, because there's different things. It's not just the model, and it's not just being a Gen 4, but there's certain bandwidth requirements that they recommend. I think they recommend over 5,500 megabits per second, and then they also have size requirements, and also you're going to need to buy one that has a heatsink, and if you don't buy one with a heatsink that comes on it, you'll have to install one, and they also have other size limitations for the heatsink, and whether it's like a single-sided or double-sided, and all that stuff is listed on the PlayStation site. So if you're part of the beta, they should give you links for all that information. So what I bought is I got the Western Digital Black, the SN 850. I got the 1 terabyte, and it already has a heatsink on it, and from what I was reading on some sites is that this kind of fits the bill. So I figured, yep, I'll give it a shot, because I think 500 gigs is too little. Two terabytes for the price point, it's kind of expensive. They are kind of running a sale right now, but I figured since they don't really know exactly what all works and what doesn't, I'm going to start with the 1 terabyte right in the middle. Okay, one thing to note though is if you do install the SSD and you decide, oh, the beta isn't for me, you have to remove the SSD before you go back to the stock firmware, whatever you want to call it, like the public firmware, because if you install the public firmware, it could cause problems, and then the only way you could fix it is by installing the beta firmware again and then remove the SSD. So just remember that if you decide you want to stop the beta at any time, that you have to remove the SSD first and then go ahead and restore to factory firmware. So what they recommend first is they recommend to touch a metal point to ground yourself, or if you have a grounding strap, you can use that. And then here is the screw here. Once again, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove that. Get the screw. Going to lift off the cover. And then you're going to be left that's what it looks like. So it looks like they have several screws, whether you have like the 2230, 2242, 2260, 2280, or you have the 22 110 size. But it looks like those are all the grounding screws, and then you can use that screw after you have your SSD chip installed to make sure it's secure in place. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to insert that chip. So again, I always like to, every once in a while, touch some metal to kind of ground yourself and make sure you're not full of static. So if you want to take a look, here is the Western Digital Black with its heat sink. It has like a fancy LED light that I'm not gonna be able to see anyway, but whatever. But yeah, it's so small. I didn't realize that how small this technology would be. So after removing the cover, you also have this, like I showed you, you have this screw and the spacer underneath it. So you're gonna want to remove that before you install the SSD. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now with my Phillips one. So I have the screw and the spacer, which looks like this. I don't know if you can see that. So now you're gonna take your SSD, and just so you know too, you can only use 22 millimeter SSDs. You can't use 25 millimeter wide SSDs, just to keep that in mind. So pretty much anything with a model number starting with, or not a model number, but I don't know, SSD starting with the 22, you'll see. What you want to do is you're going to want to hold the edge of your SSD. You're going to align it with a notch on the expansion connector, and then start it diagonally upward, firmly insert it all the way in. Okay, so it's not going to be straight. You're going to kind of at an angle. You want to make sure you do this carefully because you don't want to like damage the terminal slot for your PS5. So then what you're going to want to do is after you install it in, you're going to angle it down, and then you're going to fasten it down with the screw and the spacer. So you get a better view of this. You can see there's the slot. So you're gonna put this at kind of like a 45-degree angle. I mean, if you've installed RAM before, you would know. I'm just gonna insert it in, and then like that, and then you're gonna mount it with the screw and the spacer, just like that. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and install this screw and spacer because I can't hold a camera and do this at the same time. So let's hold this down, install this in. Looks good. I'm gonna put the cover back on. So there's a little lip, I'm gonna put it in there, and they say it's gonna click or something like that. I don't know. I don't really hear a click, but put the screw in there. And that's it. The drive is in there. Put your cover back on and fire up your console. So now that you got it installed, you're gonna turn it on, and then you're gonna have to format it if you haven't used it in a PS5 before. If you haven't used your SSD in a PS5 before, it has to be formatted first. Instructions are provided by Sony. And after you format it, then you'll be able to use it. You have to probably go into configurations, and then you'll have to choose which storage media you're gonna install new PS5 games. So you can select between the console or the SSD, and then you're ready to rock. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative. And if you're afraid of installing an SSD before, you see how easy it is. It's not too bad at all. I hope that you feel a lot more comfortable installing an SSD. Not every console player is a PC builder. I've built several PCs in my day, so it was pretty straightforward for me, and hopefully it's now straightforward for you. So we'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.